Live from the Premiership Perusal studio, welcome to the first annual Hanky Awards.
Today, first ever Premier League award show. We're calling them the Hankies.
The Hankies.
Hankies deciding it. We got a bunch of different categories. A lot of nominees. Very, very honorable people. Very prestigious people have showed up to this award show.
Mm-hmm. Here to collect their awards.
Yeah, they're here. And they're live with us. Before we start, good amount of transfers already happening.
It's popping off.
Biggest one would probably be, obviously, Haaland for City.
Yes.
And now Darwin Nunez, a.k.a. Parwin Punez, for Liverpool.
Yes.
Other big ones, Bissouma to Tottenham.
Yep.
United and Chelsea doing nothing, really. Arsenal, got a couple guys in mind, still looking at Tielemans. Brought in...
Pretty much official on... Mr. Fabio Vitinha.
No, it's the other Porto guy.
Not Vitinha. What's his name?
I don't know. Your team signed him, for God's sakes.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like you see the name and it'll pop up.
I like how the first thing that came up when you typed Arsenal is Arsenal.
Vieira.
7-5.
How could I forget? Vieira. It's the second.
Patch.
It's the region of Vieira. Fabio Vieira.
So
Portuguese, eh?
Couple big moves
Football.
there. Trying to think lower in the table if there's been much, if any, movement. Villa's made some moves. We already talked about those a little bit.
Leeds
made some moves. They brought in another. I think we talked about them bringing in the right back from Salzburg, but I could be wrong.
Just brought in Mark Roca.
Oh yeah, that from Bayern too.
Yep, big move. Obviously got Aronson earlier in the season.
I think Nottingham just signed a guy, and they're rumored with Dean Henderson on loan with option to buy as well.
I saw Brighton signed a guy that I didn't know.
Yeah, they'd like to do that. They'd like to grab random like Latin America guys or South America guys, and they're like, all right, these are our guys. Untapped
market.
Yes. Other than that, there really hasn't been much. Moving on to guys that are still free agents. I think the first one you'd have to start off with, obviously Tarkowski, kind of a big name.
Mm-hmm. Heavily linked to Everton so far.
Pretty much going to go there, I think, is how it's looking. Lingard's still a free agent. Who knows where that man will end up.
Yeah. I think he's been hanging around Paul Pogba too much.
Eddie Nketiah was a free agent, no longer free agent, now back at Arsenal. Fabianski's still free agent. There's a bunch of random guys that are free agents. You want me to go through the whole list?
Fabianski is a free agent?
He is a free agent right now.
I did not know that.
You want me to go through the whole list of guys?
Sure.
Anyone who's like reasonably...
not just some random youth player.
Yeah. Longstaff, who just got extended. Origi, Elneny, Saiz, who ended up at Besiktas. Jeff Schlupp, Pascal Gross, just extended. Amarte, I believe, was extended as well. Ayew, Ben Mee, Alex McCarthy, Yarmolenko, Welbeck, Cork, Fraser Forster, obviously Tottenham now. João Moutinho, James Milner, obviously re-upped at Liverpool. MacArthur, Tom Cleves, Ben Foster, Phil Bardsley, Ashley Young, Aaron Lennon. So I even went deep diving for some guys who are just absolutely washed. But
I know Elneny signed a contract extension as well.
All right. So a few of them have re-upped already.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Sometimes, like, technically it'll say, like, free agent, but they already have their deal in place.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like, James MacArthur
re-upped with
Palace.
Yeah.
Or if some other newly promoted team would want him, because I know I would.
Yeah, he looked good last year.
Yeah.
I went back and listened to our preview podcast for the season.
Okay.
A lot of it was actually hit more than miss.
Well,
which
we
kinda
are
surprised.
geniuses.
But the misses were honestly really bad.
Well,
they were tough. They were tough.
Who can blame us?
Here's the table we had predicted before the year: Norwich, Watford, Burnley. Spot on.
Geniuses.
Spot on predicting relegation. We can spot when you're bad.
Arguably the worst 3 teams, other than Burnley, maybe.
We had Brentford at 17th. Can we get the live table up?
Yeah, let's.
Oh, you have to Google.
I'll go half and half here.
You have to look up because if you look up the Premier League table now, it's going to be next year's.
You can go back in the year. Now we got Erling Haaland's lips looking at us.
Erling Haaland. Can you?
Yes.
Wow, look at that. This man knows his way around the Premier League website.
We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. We are Premiership Perusal.
All right, go all the way down.
Okay.
All right, so Brentford finished 13th, so we're 4 off. But that's not bad. A lot of people have Brentford going down.
Yeah, Brentford obviously overperformed expectations.
Newcastle in 16th. This was before the takeover. This was with Steve Bruce. They finished 11th, so 5 off. That's reasonable, given it literally just completely changed their year.
Yeah, it's a completely different side. Had they not had the takeover,
could have been relegated.
Could have got relegated. Very likely. I mean, they didn't win a game for 15 matches or something.
Yeah. Southampton in 15th. Oh baby. Oh baby. Look at that. Palace in 14th. They finished 12th, so only 2 off.
Yep.
Brighton in 13th. They finish 9th, so 4 off. Wolves in 12th. They finished 10th, 2 off. Everton 11th. They finished 16. 16. That's honestly wild.
It is wild. We were feeling the Everton, not great year, but yeah, who could have seen
them being this
the
terrible.
Relegation battle? They haven't been relegated in.
That was probably the funniest thing listening to that is we're like, floor about 14th. They probably won't challenge for relegation. It was so funny.
Imagine the big brain move if we were like,
they're going to be down there.
I think they might be in the relegation fight.
10th, we had Villa. This was literally as Jack Grealish moved, and we refused to move the rank. We just left it. So,
yeah, if we had moved it, I think
we said
14
12th.
would be,
I think listening to the pod, we said 12th is probably where they would have slotted in. So,
yeah,
they would have been a little closer with that 14, but. West Ham in 9th. They finished 7th, just 2 off. Leeds in 8th. That was tough. But we did say that their floor was 15 because we talked about the depth and how it could go wrong if one of their main guys got hurt. Guess what? Phillips and Bamford were out for practically the whole year.
Right.
Where was I at?
Tottenham
at 7, finished 4th, 3 off. Arsenal at 6, they finished 5th, pretty close. This was a tough one. Liverpool 5. We got too hot with the Liverpool Leicester. We tried to call it. We called our shot. It didn't happen.
Yeah, we shot our shot and we bricked it.
Yeah, Leicester 4th. Obviously, they finished 8th. Chelsea in 3rd.
Hey.
United in 2nd.
They were looking pretty good. They were like, they won the preseason.
That was us. And then City in 1st. So we got City, Chelsea, Southampton, Burnley, Watford, Norwich, spot on.
That's pretty good.
5?
Hey, that's a lot better than people saying Norwich
6.
were going to finish.
1, 2, 3,
14th.
6.
Yeah, 6. That's
30%, right?
Incalculable numbers of percentages.
6 out of 20, right?
6 out of 20, you reduce
in terms of what's
it
right.
into 3 out of 10, 30%. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That's correct. That is pretty good.
It is kind of neutral out there, the fact that Liverpool did so well and we look silly, but
I mean,
I think Leicester would have pushed for top 4 had Jamie Vardy been playing. Even though their defense was trash, he was 15 goals in 25 games.
Yeah,
not even 25 starts, 25 games. And if he was in that form, I mean,
consider Liverpool. Obviously, they signed Diaz, who was helpful in the second half of the season. They had a lot of grinded out games that could have gone a different direction.
Yeah, to say the least.
They heavily relied on Mr. Mo Salah.
Yes.
And they got fairly lucky in terms of injuries.
Oh, that's the main thing. They still didn't have a deep squad, yet they didn't
that
really
was our
face
big sticking point.
Yeah, they didn't have much for injuries. All in all, I'm impressed with our 6 out of 20 spot on.
We will pat ourselves on the back. Yep.
Not to mention a couple just barely off ones as well.
Yep.
So, should we move on to the awards?
Yes.
All right. Let's get a full screen here.
The very first Hanky of all time.
So these awards aren't what you typically think. It's not like, who had the best free kick goal of the season? Who had the best,
boring.
assist? Yeah.
Boring. We got too many of those.
Yeah.
Too many of those. We need something spicy.
Not to mention, we're mainly, we're objective about the games. Sometimes we need to be a little subjective and just come up with random things to talk about.
No one needs to hear, Mo Salah was the best player this season. James Ward-Prowse had the best free kick goal. Ronaldo scored the best hat trick.
No one needs that. We know. We know that everyone who listens to this podcast watched and saw all that.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, so we need a little bit of narrative.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Let's start off the Who Deserved Better Awards. Our nominees. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Jamie Vardy. Nuno. And Liverpool. Let's walk through the nominees. Who are you thinking right here?
It's an interesting group you have here. Nuno, I'm not sure why he's on there.
We'll get to it. Should I break down my reasoning for each?
Yeah.
Okay. Ole, it wasn't his fault. And I think everyone knows that it's the players at this point.
Yes.
That no system could have worked with those guys. They didn't have a 6. Mm-hmm. They left their center backs exposed, so they looked really bad. Their attack was always going to be dysfunctional. They brought in guys that weren't absolute needs. They brought in guys they wanted. And you know what? I don't blame Ole. So I think he deserved a little better, even though his team completely quit on him at Watford.
Yes.
Who had, I think, 1 home win, and that was it this year. 2. They beat Villa.
Yeah.
Vardy has to be said. He's just a great, likable guy. So it's always hard to see a guy like that go down. When you're in the form that he was in this year, it sucks when a guy like that goes down.
Kind of piggybacking off of Vardy, I think someone who maybe in that same vein, even more so, I would say Pat Bamford.
Yeah.
He really went through the injury crisis this season after such a good season last year.
It was the year of bringing guys back from injury too soon for these teams that dug themselves in a hole. Leicester being one, Leeds being one, and they're like, you got to come back now. Mm-hmm. And even if they scored, which I think Bamford did once or twice when he came back, and then he had to get subbed off. He was out for the year virtually. It's just tough to see with the injuries, so you're bound to have one of those guys in here. Nuno, let me explain. Everyone quit on him. Everyone quit on this man.
Everyone
he got
quit
no
on
effort
him before the season started.
Everyone quit on this man. He's a decent enough manager. It was tough that he was like their 7th choice.
Yes.
But he wasn't getting the best from Kane. Kane, fresh off the Euro final, he was gassed.
Mm-hmm.
Son,
nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I don't know if Son could be the main guy for an attack.
No, absolutely not.
He's got to be. There's got to be a little spotlight on someone else too. So he doesn't have the main 2 guys going for him. Their defense, they still didn't really have Romero at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who's their second best guy out there then? Højbjerg? And he wasn't even playing that well early in the year. I don't know. It's a mix of guys kind of quit on him too. The club quit on him.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I felt a little bad for him.
Not to mention
after he had good years at Wolves.
Not to mention the shroud over the Harry Kane saga.
Yeah. Will he leave? Will he not leave?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's stuck at Tottenham with this coach no one likes. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Feels bad, Nuno.
Destined to fail.
Unless I have Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
Did they deserve the title after grinding out all those wins that it's like, oh, should they win this? Who knows? But they grinded their way all the way to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Did they deserve it over City?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I'll tell you what. Who would you nominate to win this? And I'll tell you who won it.
I think I got to say Mr. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
And give me your reasoning.
I feel like he did not get the respect he deserved with the performances in prior seasons, given the team that he had. And like you said, the team absolutely gave up on him. And it turned out, they brought someone else in. Didn't get any better because the players are toxic.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me hear it. Who is the winner of the very first historical moment, Hanky?
It was Ole.
Whoa! Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, come on up, please.
Ooh.
Okay, Ole
He's gonna
was
record
not
a video.
able to be here.
He was recording a video crying about how he got sacked from Man U and how much he loves the club. He's too busy doing that.
Yeah.
He's still in that room, in that chair.
Yeah. Still smiling, but tears rolling down his eyes.
All right. Next, we have luckiest team.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, we have Liverpool.
Yes.
See, I give you that. Did they deserve better, the pro-Liverpool side? And then here's the anti-Liverpool side.
Mm-hmm.
They just got lucky.
That's fair. True, fair and balanced.
Luckiest team. So we have Liverpool,
Yes.
Tottenham,
Mm-hmm.
Wolves,
Yes.
and Leeds.
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool, shallow squad, didn't face many injuries,
Very
had
efficient.
some very strange, random winners,
Yes.
to say the least, from guys you wouldn't expect. And you might just say, well, that's the mark of a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of times where their defense was caught out and they were not punished. More times than you'd think. Moving on. Tottenham. For how bad the season started in terms of they had to sack their manager about a month and a half in, getting no production out of their 2 best guys until about, December. And to finish in a Champions League spot. Got yourself pretty lucky there. Wolves. They scored 35 goals. And they finished 10th. That already is pretty lucky. You could just say, oh, well, it's good D, stuff like that. 35 goals is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple times where if they didn't have Jose Sa, they could have been in relegation territory. Leeds. Was it luck just staying up to grind it out at the end with Mr. Marsh? Mr. Jesse Marsh?
I think it's interesting you have Leeds on here because I would say Leeds were one of maybe someone would consider
You say unlucky.
the unluckiest teams considering their injuries.
But they have a couple injury-prone guys and a shallow squad, so you're already building that into the fact that...
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're unlucky. If they try and claim that they're unlucky, no, they're just stupid for thinking they can get away with that.
The thing I was going to say about Leeds, too, as far as lucky, is that last day, the odds were stacked against them with the goal differential. They needed Burnley to have a worse result than them virtually in order to stay up. And it happened. And they came through, but still a bit of luck in that. All right, let's hear the rest.
Yeah, Wolves, like you said, didn't score many goals. Liverpool, very efficient. They seemed just to get the result when it seemed very unlikely. But I got to say, my choice for this award would be Tottenham Hotspur. Case in point, I just have one example, and it's that game versus Leicester. The game they should not have won at all, but Mr. Yuri Tielemans and his absolute lack of any effort gifted them a free win. They had a stretch where they just kept getting late winners, and it was one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen.
This might give it away.
Yes.
But also Tottenham to sack Nuno and then Conte sitting there and United wouldn't go and grab him.
Yeah.
Even though they're sitting there about to get rid of Ole.
Mm-hmm.
And they just get a world-class manager. The luckiest team of 2021-2022 is Tottenham Hotspur. Congratulations.
Woo! I'm 2 for 2.
Congratulations, Tottenham. Most disappointing player. We have a 5 for this one. Normally we have 4 for most of these. 5. I couldn't contain myself.
Mm-hmm.
First, Gucci Grealish.
Gucci Grealish.
You see the price tag. You see the output in raw numbers. Sure, you can look at efficiency. But quite frankly, you can't have a guy who makes $100 million and he's on your bench more than half the time.
What about considering the fact that he signed that endorsement deal with Gucci and he's officially Gucci Grealish?
I mean, that's a positive he has for this year. That's his one positive.
That lifts him out of this category.
That and his winner against West Ham. Or, well, I guess first goal, that was an equalizer. Ended up being a massive goal in the title race. Second, we have Mr. Romelu Lukaku. Big price tag, brought in apparently one of the best strikers in the world. Fine in cups, but this is a Premier League podcast, okay? We care about the Premier League.
Yeah.
8 goals, not good enough for a guy who had such a big price tag.
Yep.
Bruno Fernandes. Supposed to be the main guy on United before the year, until Ronaldo came in, obviously, but they'd got second place with him before. Supposed to carry most of the offense. Big facilitator. Obviously had a down year. Jadon Sancho. Big price tag. Big swag, as Sam would say.
A lot of expectations and hype.
Yes, that too. Not much output. Rafinha, my last guy.
I just want to say I respect you so much for putting Rafinha on this list because a lot of people, we've talked about this. A lot of people don't watch the games.
Yeah. If you're worth like 60, 70 mil, supposed to be going to Barca, this was not a guy that, if you watched them play, say like, I don't know, West Ham, and I told you, one guy in this game is going to Real Madrid next year for like 60 mil, you wouldn't say Rafinha.
No.
You'd probably say Bowen or Rice first off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Break it down. What are you thinking about each candidate?
Yeah, quickly, I'll just go Grealish. He was very disappointing, but it didn't matter that much because City are so stacked. So there's not a whole lot of like pressure and expectations. Also, the fact that City aren't a historic club and don't have a big fan base, so no one cares. Lukaku, obviously hot garbage. And then to be talking about how you want to leave halfway through the season, very disappointing. Bruno, I feel like maybe a little hard done by. Of course, he had a great season last year, but this season he had to do a lot more defensive work because there was like no midfield.
Yes.
Sancho should be so grateful for Lukaku and the fact that he did somewhat okay in the second half of the season because the price tag for him and his production was awful. And Rafinha, yeah, he's a guy I've been saying this season. I don't see how people are still like hyping him up, saying he should go to Barca or Real Madrid.
All right. Who do you think it was?
I think it's Lukaku. I feel like it's got to be Lukaku.
You're wrong.
Oh, wow.
It's Jadon Sancho.
Jadon Sancho.
For being an elite, it was very close between Lukaku and Sancho. For being this guy who is dubbed as like an elite player from the Bundesliga, questions as to why he doesn't play more in the England squad.
Yeah.
All this media narrative pushing him, and he just comes in, and he just doesn't fit in.
Yeah.
He doesn't fit in with, and maybe part of it's United style, but when you have that much of a price tag on you, you should be the one changing these things. Yes?
Yeah.
And adapting.
Absolutely. And he was a guy, I don't remember if you were on board with this, but I was predicting that he would be a flop. Were you on board with that?
I figured that he would be significantly You had to tone down the expectations. People thought like double-digit goals and assists.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. It was going to be below that. It takes time to adapt to the Premier League.
Yeah.
But no, Lukaku very close. I mean, even just for the shambolic, just calling out his own team after he just transferred there.
Mm-hmm.
Wild move.
Yeah.
Wild move. Kind of rescued it at the end of the year, and he started off strong, so at least you have moments you can point to with Lukaku. Whereas Sancho, can you point to moments with Sancho specifically? I mean, like the Leeds game, he had some assists
Yeah.
that were nice.
You know, the thing with Sancho, I think the red flag for me was he wasn't getting into the England side, and when he would, he didn't play very well. And
Yeah.
obviously the England side is made up majority of Premier League players.
That's the thing with Grealish, too, is when he's in the English side, he actually looks really well.
Yeah.
So
I think Grealish it's just kind of one of those Man City. Some guys take a little while to get adapted into that play style.
yeah.
And then also you have the fact that they have Cancelo, who kind of takes up similar spaces.
Yeah, and they have to rotate their squad. But still, all those guys, disappointing for sure. Worst signing. These are all disappointing guys too, but I had to differentiate. Most disappointing is kind of more high-profile guys. Worst signing, I tried to highlight more like the lower guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Is that
Yeah.
fair? That makes sense?
Yeah, I see what you're doing.
Okay. Worst signing. First one, Brian Heel. I think it was 27 million pounds.
Was it that?
Yes. To Tottenham Hotspur from Sevilla. I think he played like 5 games,
Mm-hmm.
if that, and then immediately loaned out. Vestergaard. Panic buy by Leicester after Fofana went down 15 million pounds. Did not fit in whatsoever. Dele Alli, who apparently is technically free or something, but the fees can add up to 40 million pounds. Either way, I think played like 4 games for Everton, and when he played at Tottenham was absolutely pathetic. And then Mr. Vlasic, the pickle man, on West Ham, did not translate very well, to say the least.
Yeah.
Was kind of brought in. Thought he might be kind of like a guy off the bench or to get some spot starts here in the Premier League. Didn't even really have it going that well in the Europa League either. So, what are we thinking about these?
Well, Brian Heel, to me, never seemed like the type of player that would excel in the Premier League. And to be fair, he wasn't really given much of a chance, but I don't think, like, physically he was ready for the league.
Mm-hmm.
Vestergaard, like you said, panic buy, but, like, just one of the worst panic buys because he didn't fit the system at all. Dele Alli, you know, I'm okay with this because of the low risk, and you're hoping you can maybe breathe some new life into this guy who showed some really high level of play previously.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're Everton, you're like in dire need of anything.
Yes.
Vlasic, I think it's still possible that he could turn out to be like a squad player for West Ham, but I don't know if he'll be afforded that luxury.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I think the worst would probably be Vestergaard because, like, the second he got put in, you knew this was a terrible signing.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is a huge mistake. This guy is so slow. He can't pass. He nearly, like, gave up 2 goals in the first game that he played in, like, the 10-minute sub that he came on.
Are you ready to hear who it is?
Yes.
It is Mr. Yannick Vestergaard. Come on down. Come on down. Yeah, I felt the same way about Heel and Vlasic, where it's like they were both just terrible, but like there's room for them to potentially grow.
Yeah.
And Dele Alli, we know he's worthless, but Everton didn't really spend that much for him.
Right.
Mr. Vestergaard, you hurt my eyes.
You can only play in a low block.
Yes. Biggest surprise Nominees are Newcastle's entire midfield. We, coming into the year, thought their best midfielder was probably John Joe Shelby.
Yes.
By the time we left, albeit they signed Bruno G, and that's with the takeover and stuff, Joe Linton was
Revelation.
a wild man this year. And Joe Willock also played very well. And John Joe Shelby, honestly, wasn't like terrible. He just kind of got outclassed by the other guys, so he wasn't playing as much. And I guess he's more attack than midfield, but he was kind of like a wing back to, I don't know, Ryan Fraser. I'd just consider him part of the midfield too, even though he's more out wide, but he had a good year. So, Wilfred Zaha, career year, high in career high in goals. A lot of chances created by the Wilf, and honestly, in peak form of just winding people up.
Yes, top class wind up merchant.
Yes,
he gets the like side hanky for being biggest wind up merchant.
Matty Cash, just kind of really coming into his own for a while there, scoring goals, dropping dimes and assists. Defense was still pretty solid.
Yeah.
And then we have
playing for Poland.
Yes, and we have Jose Sa / Wolves D, which Sa was elite and Wolves defense for a while was top for quality. What are you thinking about the nominees?
Yeah, Jose Sa, obviously fantastic goalkeeper. We touched about this in our end of season recaps. I did not see that coming at all. Wolves D, I thought was not too surprising. Obviously, Connor Cody.
He's solid. But I think the performance they got out of guys like Kilman, and even early in the year with Ait Nouri and Saiz, and guys of that nature, Marcel even was okay. So
yeah. Cash, I don't think he's as big of a surprise. More, it's just kind of like a progression of, it wasn't out of the realm of possibility that he could improve.
I just
as a
didn't
player,
expect it.
The level that he excelled at this season was pretty incredible to watch. Wilfred Zaha, he always showed the potential, and he's had some good seasons, but this season he really put it together. Had some good supporting actors to help out. But I got to say, my choice, Newcastle midfield, with a huge emphasis on Joe Linton. Wow, fantastic. He went from a 40 million pound flop of a striker into the highest work rate central midfielder you've seen in a long, long time. And the hanky goes to
Newcastle's midfield.
Yes.
Newcastle. It was so fantastic.
Yes.
They were so good. The fact that they could, Newcastle, at the beginning of the year, we talked about how they couldn't control the game whatsoever, so they had to kind of play Bruce ball.
Yeah.
That's true. They had to. But with Eddie Howe coming in, everything kind of shifted. They add Bruno G. They're able to establish the midfield and control the tempo of games. I mean, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
You would have said Newcastle probably had a bottom 3 midfield coming in the year, and now they're top 6 midfield, probably around there. So, good on Newcastle. We have the Worst Player Award. Nominees. Jack Cork. Absolutely horrendous stats as far as passing, just goal and shot creations. Not even good, like, defensively. Like, his best stat category is, like, mediocre at best, and it was, like, aerials. Second, we have Chris Wood, another Burnley man / Newcastle man. 3 goals on the year, or 4. Doesn't really matter. Just about as inefficient as you can be. He almost looked like, not like he was playing scared. That's not the right way to put it, but like, he just was not as aggressive. Some balance between that of like he was not taking the chances because he just wasn't aggressive. Didn't you feel like that?
Yeah, it seemed like he never got into a good rhythm.
Mm-hmm. Ben Gibson. Need we say any more about
How many
Norwich's
times do we
man?
got to talk about Ben Gibson disaster classes?
And last but not least, we have Mr. Troost-Ekong of Watford, who I think I went through virtually anyone who played, had by far the worst stats of any Premier League defender that I could find. And was responsible for one of the classic goals of the year where he stepped up to head the ball and just let it through. Just let it all the way through for a breakaway goal.
Oh, man. I was going to say, did Danny Rose not qualify for this?
No, he did not. You
not
had to
enough
play
minutes played.
You had to play, I think the barometer set was 15 games.
Mm-hmm. I respect that because it'd be really easy to pick a guy that sucked and played like 2 games.
I tried to pick someone from North. There's so many bad guys. I couldn't pick one. So
yeah, I feel the same about
except for
Watford,
Ben Gibson, of course.
Honestly.
Yeah, I suppose it was so hard to narrow it down between those 2 teams. I felt bad picking 2 guys from Burnley, but what are you gonna do? All right, walk through
1.5.
Yeah, walk through which guy you think is number 1.
I feel like Jack Cork. I don't know. He's Jack Cork. What do you expect out of him? It's more so like shame
I think
on
it's
Burnley.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's more impressive. He played like a ton of games for them, and he was just bad like all the time. The only good game he had was that Watford game.
Yeah. Chris Wood. Yeah, he was pretty terrible. The fact that they sold him for like 20 million, million pounds, that was hilarious. Ben Gibson. Like I said, the Ben Gibson disaster class is like a trademark in this podcast. Troost-Ekong. I think Troost-Ekong has to win it. And it's like emphasis on the goal where he ducked out of the way. What are you doing?
And the winner of the Hanky for worst player goes to Troost-Ekong.
Yes. Man, I'm like...
I thought you were going to go Ben Gibson.
It was close. It was close.
It was
when
all
you
four,
when you reminded me
hard.
of the ducking goal. Yeah, that's unforgivable.
Worst manager now. This one hurts. Right in the gut.
Some real stingers.
Right in the big Steve Bruce fucking belly.
Oof.
First we have Rafa.
Mm-hmm.
Started off hot for Everton. Guess what?
It
really faded.
Did he get a Manager of the Month award?
He might have.
There had to be a couple guys that got
close.
sacked that ended up getting 1 or 2.
The ultimate will be who was that? Mike Phelan, the guy who took over Hull in like 2016, and he beat Leicester on the opening day, and he got sacked later.
Didn't Nuno win one?
Yes.
Like the first month.
He won the first one. Yes, he won the first month that got sacked.
Cursed.
Steve Bruce, Lord Brucey, out here, second
Lord
option.
Brucey.
We know it didn't go well for him. We still love him.
Yes.
Claudio Ranieri. Very, very rough go at Watford.
Should have never tasted the poison chalice.
You don't want to go to Watford. Bad things will always happen. And last but not least, Daniel Farke.
Daniel Farke. The man who got his first win and got sacked immediately after.
The man who single-handedly made us pick Norwich to finish in last place this year, even though people were like, no. No. All right, Sam, break it down.
Yeah, I gotta
say.
say.
Who are your favorites for it? Rank them.
Rafa, hilarious for the fact that former Liverpool manager hired by Everton. Everton fans were fuming before the season started. And as the season progressed, and they got worse. Steve Bruce, I felt like he was always behind the 8 ball because the fans couldn't respect some proper English football style. I don't think he was really the problem. It was just like kind of toxic at Newcastle, and the fans were against him. So anytime the fans are against you as a manager,
your back's against the wall, and you have to be perfect pretty much.
Especially a fan base like Newcastle. Claudio Ranieri, I don't know what he was doing, trying to pull off like the most incredible feat by coming into Watford. That was just stupid on his part.
Yeah, it was not salvageable.
Must have been a good payday for him. And Daniel Farke, the German fraud. This guy is so bad.
Well, he's at Borussia Mönchengladbach now. Congratulations, Daniel Farke.
Failing upwards.
He might be a PSG in 4 years.
It could be. Oh, man, this is a tough one. I got to say, I think I got to say Daniel Farke. And the icing on the cake was that he got sacked after they won their first game.
We think too much like Daniel Farke, the winner of the worst manager award. It really wasn't close. The second was, I guess, Ranieri. But, yeah. Moving on. Most underrated player.
Into some more positive categories. Those were a little toxic on us, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for the memes.
Yes. Most underrated player. First nominee, Leandro Trossard.
One of Hank's guys.
One of my guys. He's already, you already know that he's got a good chance of winning this. Mm-hmm. Fantastic year. When Brighton was going, it was mainly because Trossard was going. He felt like, I always said that he's kind of like a support role guy. He felt like at times he could be a little more than that this year for Brighton, but only for extended periods of time, could not do it fully, hence why Brighton had their rough run towards the middle end of the year. Next, Nick Pope. Absolutely amazing goalkeeping for Burnley. Could have been way worse this year had it not been for Nick Pope. Mr. Salisu has a lot to cover back there for Southampton. They don't, Romeu, not the best at covering a ton of ground. Mm-hmm. Not to mention Bednarek, a little slower. Can make tackles and stuff, but he's not as mobile. They ask a lot out of Salisu. When you're near the top of the Premier League in tackles and interceptions, you think, oh, he's probably, a defensive midfielder. You don't see that much out of central defenders. So, Salisu up there. And then last nominee, Mr. McGinn of Aston Villa. I think he's a high-quality player, has very nice balance to his game, can just ping some absolute beauty long ball goals. What are we thinking about the nominees here?
Trossard, fantastic player. I think he would fit in with, any of the top 6 clubs. Just his play style. I think it would suit any top six club.
A team he should really go to is probably, well, I don't know about now after they're going to make some more moves, but if they hadn't brought in guys, I think Arsenal would be a good fit for Trossard.
Yeah.
Kind of in like that role Lacazette was doing for a little while, playing off.
Yeah, it's kind of the Arsenal style, just to have like a bunch of like attacking mids that kind of play positionless.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he would suit up nicely for Arsenal in the hypothetical world. Nick Pope obviously was massive, made some of the best saves of the season. I can't believe he's still on Burnley. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Salisu at times, fantastic. Had some rough stretches this season, but overall,
true.
I think he's still a very good player. And John McGinn, yes, very, very high quality footballer that seemingly has gone under the radar quite a bit.
Yeah.
In the climate that the Premier League is now, where teams are looking for quality central midfielders.
And he's just at Villa.
And he's at Villa. Surprising that he's not on the radar of some higher tier clubs. I think one more special mention, I would say,
yes, that
I just thought of by looking at Salisu, would be Mr. Kyle Walker-Peters.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
He was very, very nice this year. I had a couple other special guys that just missed the cut. Ethan Pinnock and Joachim Andersen just missed out.
Yeah.
Both fantastic players. I feel like you're more likely to find underrated defenders because people don't focus on the defensive aspect of the game nearly as much as attack. Mm-hmm. So who do you think won?
I'm going to say John McGinn.
It was close. John McGinn was second.
To Trossard.
Trossard was third.
Pope.
Nick Pope. Come on down.
Okay.
Most underrated player in the Premier League.
I feel like he is the best, but in terms of underrated, I would say like quality to underrated value.
Yeah.
I feel like
John
McGinn is a little bit higher.
That's fair, and that's why he just missed out by a whisker. Moving on, most underrated manager / our manager of the year. You know, manager of the year award always goes to whoever wins the league.
Yeah.
So I like to do the underrated manager of the year.
Yeah, it's way more impressive when you have like a cheap squad and you overperform.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that impressive when Pep Guardiola wins the league. I'm sorry, but it's not. It's not impressive when Jurgen Klopp wins the league even either.
Yeah. No, it's not.
No. Do it at Sunderland. That's what I always say. Do it at Sunderland. Let's see.
All right. Underrated manager of the year candidates. Mr. Eddie Howe.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic when he came in. I liked him before he went to Newcastle. I had my doubts about it working out at Newcastle.
Yeah.
But I had faith. But I didn't have this much faith. He outperformed my expectations.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as you. Yeah, I liked him at Bournemouth, but it seemed like this could be kind of a sketchy one because, you know, obviously Newcastle, they have high expectations.
Yeah. Well, he met those high expectations. Antonio Conte took over a team in like 7th or 8th, had to figure out a system, had to figure out how to make guys like Matt Doherty useful.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive.
Was able to do it, able to get the best out of Son and Kane. Got a little bailed out by amazing signing, Mr. Kulishevsky. But still, impressive performance by Conte. Mr. Mikel Arteta up there. Arsenal, I think a lot of people will laugh you out of the room at the beginning of the year if you thought they genuinely had a good chance at top 4. Guess what Arteta did? He gave them a fighting chance and had them there at the very end.
Yep.
David Moyes, last manager on here. Back-to-back European seasons. Obviously, Premier League podcast doesn't really matter, so it shouldn't count. Europa League semifinal. But balancing that long European campaign with the Premier League campaign, staying very competitive in both. Very, very impressive. With such a shallow squad, too. Which, kind of West Ham's fault, but still impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, Conte, I think he did a fantastic job. And like you said, his ability to get performances out of guys who were like out of the team, Doherty out of the team. He was able to reignite Kane and Son. Overall, you know, they looked so much better under Conte. Arteta, who would have thought Arsenal would have had such a solid season in the way that they did after the past few seasons that they've had, and kind of this risky approach to buy into the youth movement, and he stuck with it, and he's really been a good leader at the club, not only in terms of the game itself, but also kind of like a cultural standpoint, making it more so like guys want to be there. They remember what it's like to be an Arsenal player and the history that Arsenal has as a club.
The big club.
Yeah. And then Moyes. I can't say enough about this guy. A couple of years ago, West Ham were like falling into chaos.
They were pretty much Newcastle at the start of this year.
Yeah.
But like even slightly worse.
They were so bad. And they looked like they had a good chance of getting relegated, but Moyes has completely turned the ship around, and it hasn't been by big money signings. It's by getting some great performances out of guys like Rice. Bowen has emerged. Antonio has been a key figure at the club. Fabianski, solid throughout. And I got to say Moyes for me, personally.
Wow. Such great. This might have been the top one in terms of like balance candidates, because everyone has like a really, really good case on this one. Drum roll. The one-handed drum roll. It was David Moyes.
David Moyes.
That is such a hard job for a middle club. The way you just said about Pep is like in terms of balancing competitions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is hard. And that's why it's like Pep gets respect that he does. But he gets such a massive budget. Imagine getting like such limited budget, yet you're still in all these European competition, Premier League, Cup final, stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
Tough. David Moyes able to do it back-to-back years, turning around West Ham. My second place was Howe. But I feel like if you ask most people, they'd say, well, Eddie Howe did a really good job, which he did. I feel like people wouldn't. No one's talking about David Moyes. And he did an amazing job again.
Yeah.
Overrated player. So just as we got away from the negative stuff, we're right back to it. Overrated player of the year, Sadio Mane. Made the team of the season. Didn't have a bad year just from general numbers. 15 goals. I think he had a handful of assists, just like 4 or 3, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 or 3. So not a bad year, but a little inflated. A little Liverpool love got him inflated a bit.
Yeah.
Raheem Sterling,
Mm-hmm.
13 goal year, a lot of tap-ins, guaranteed lock for the England squad all the time. I don't know. James Ward-Prowse up for Player of the Year, 10-goal season for Southampton. Big component for their finish of 15th place. Last but not least, the man who you would think was he's the analytical darling, I guess, these days. James Tarkowski. Really, I don't know, not a bad player, but I think it's gone so far to where he was underrated and Burnley's defense was good, to where Burnley's defense is no longer that good, and people still value Tarkowski as high, if not higher, than peak Tarkowski.
Yeah.
So, fair shouts for everyone in this list. Who are you leaning towards, and what do you think of each candidate?
Mane, I feel like
Mane.
it's a little harsh, but I can see where you're coming from if you're talking about being in the team of the season.
Yes.
Sterling, the man who scores more tap-ins than I've
Anyone
ever seen before and thinks he's really good at the game. James Ward-Prowse, I've gone on a few rants on this show saying he is so bang average, like in the run-up play. Obviously, his free kicks and set pieces can't be denied, his quality in those areas. But, does that really make up for how average or even maybe below average he is the rest of the game?
60 million pounds.
Yeah, and the fact that people are saying like 60 million pounds for James Ward-Prowse is okay. Let's calm down. And then Tarkowski, he's another guy I've been saying like, I don't think he's that good.
Yeah.
And I think Ben Mee does like a lot of the heavy lifting, but Tarkowski's more like the flashy, like makes the last ditch kind of tackle guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he had some really rough games this season.
He was still in form in terms of being a wind-up merchant. He always is kind of high up there. He's not Wolf League, but he's like in that slight tier below it.
Yeah, he had that first goal of the season for Burnley where he just absolutely plowed over someone.
Yeah, through like a
Neil
elbow.
Maupay, maybe?
Yeah,
I don't
just
know.
trucking someone on Brighton.
That was pretty funny. I think for me, oh man, this is
It's tough.
this is very tough.
It's tough.
I'm very torn between
I
three
think I know
people.
who you want to go with.
See, I would say Sterling, but I don't think anyone cares about City. No one cares. No one cares.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Tarkowski.
Okay.
And you're going to say James Ward-Prowse.
James Ward-Prowse, come on down.
Oh!
Come on down.
It's such a tight one.
I mean, the fact that so many people are casually willing to spend 50 to 60 million pounds on him is wild. He's like a 30 million pound, like at best guy. And that's like he's a very luxury player to have.
Yeah.
Where you put him in if you're a good team, and you'd rotate him in terms of like he probably plays like 20 Premier League games a season. He's doing all the cups and stuff, and you're bringing him on at certain times. But he's like C plus, B minus at everything, and more like C minus, D plus at defense. And he's got A plus 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 at free kicks and pens.
I think it would be hilarious if he went to United just so like he would get exposed as being not very good. And I think, maybe I'm wrong because it seems like the ship has kind of sailed on Tarkowski. I feel like Ward-Prowse is more so where Tarkowski was in terms of like the hype.
Yeah, I mean Tarkowski, he'll still get paid. He'll still get paid a bunch at Everton, and people still be like, "Oh yeah, he's a good signing, yeah." So we'll see.
Michael Keane 2.0.
Yeah, except he's older. He's past it, Michael Keane. Overrated manager. Here are the nominees.
It's gonna get spicy.
Stevie G. It's hard to say. He's only been there half a year, but he's had a lot of ups and downs. And honestly, I would say slightly more downs than ups. The system looks good when it's going, but there's a lot of times where it's just not really going, especially in attack. Sometimes in defense, they just look really bad. It's hard to tell if it's the system or the players, too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think people want it to work so bad that people would probably consider Stevie G to be good, but I'm still out on him. We'll see. The jury's out. Not out as in I want nothing to do with him. Thomas Tuchel. Had a tough year in terms of just like, we're talking about Man City and stuff, has to rotate his squad. He's in all these cup competitions. It's going very late. Seems to sometimes, not have the best player selection stuff. Hard to say with so many injuries and stuff that Chelsea had going on this year. But he's still supposed to be an elite manager, and, they did get to 2 cup finals, but nothing to show for it. No dice.
No dice.
Pep Guardiola.
Spicy take.
I think it would be for a lot of people. Gets to spend unlimited amount of money.
Sure does.
There's a lot of success, but again, he gets whoever he wants on his team. Last one, Marcelo Bielsa.
That one stings.
Part of its leads kind of just not building the best squad, but that's kind of how he likes it. He likes a small squad.
Mm-hmm.
Bielsa ball, a little bit exposed. They didn't have their best guys this year, but that's what's going to happen if an injury happens and you don't have enough depth.
Yeah.
What are we looking at for guys?
Well, I'm going to start backwards. Bielsa, he brought on his own undoing by having such a thin squad. And in that aspect, yes, I feel like overrated because you'd think he'd be smarter than that.
Yes, he's supposed to be a genius.
Pep Guardiola, at times, when he can't get performances out of players that he spent billions of pounds on, it doesn't look very good.
Yes.
When you get mugged off by Crystal Palace at home, not the best. Tommy Tuchel. Feel like he struggles to impose himself on the team, and I'm not sure if the players really respect him that much.
Yeah.
Stevie G, I think he gets by with a lot of his status, his Liverpool status, his history in the league. People have that baseline respect for him.
Are you saying it was same results, but it was Paul Lambert? People wouldn't have as much respect for him?
Absolutely. Paul Lambert, Tim Sherwood.
What a squad Villa had for a while.
Yeah.
Who would you go with?
I got to say, for now, it's Stevie G.
Okay.
Not saying he's bad.
Yeah.
But just the hype and buzz that is around the team versus what the actual performances were.
I agree with you.
Is the most overrated.
I agree with you. However, Stevie G did not win all the way from Argentina, Mr. Marcelo Bielsa. Come on down.
I was hoping you would say Pep, so you could say the guy who won the league was the most overrated manager. And that's something we...
First off, Pep is a bald fraud.
Bald fraud.
And me and Sam know this.
Yes.
Select few know this, but he is, in fact, a bald fraud.
Uh-huh.
And the funniest thing you'll ever see is him drinking the water and then, like, slightly rubbing his forehead.
Sipping water intensifies.
Yeah. The bald fraud. But no, it has to be Bielsa. I don't know. Was the system smoke and mirrors? Was it a mix of he just kind of got unlucky with injuries? Maybe, but I don't know. It felt like he was never getting results with that team when he was leaving.
Yeah.
And they were just losing like 5-0 constantly.
Yeah.
To big teams.
And maybe the performance out of some of the players like Liam Cooper.
Yeah. Kind of let him down. He had a little too much faith in some guys.
Luke Ayling, Click.
Yeah.
Guys like that.
You might have got a lot out of them in the championship, but some of those guys are just kind of championship tier guys.
Yeah. They even got by the first season.
Yeah.
But no longer.
No cigar. We have the You're Still Here award.
This is fantastic.
This is fantastic. Pretty much just an award of guys who've been around the Premier League for a while, and we're wondering what in the hell they are doing here. First nominee, Willy Caballero. Started, I think, 4 games for Southampton, somewhere around there.
Signed as the emergency goalkeeper.
And they threw him out there. Second, we have Aaron Lennon.
Ageless.
Burnley's finest.
He was one of Burnley's better attackers.
That's not okay. John Ruddy, who for whatever reason got some run for Wolves a couple times this year.
Yeah, sure did.
And last but not least, Danny Rose.
Danny Rose. What's that? Danny Rose? He's on a flight to Milan as we speak right now. Okay,
he's signing.
Can't decide between AC Milan and Inter. So.
Yeah, do I want to win the Scudetto with Inter or do I want to win it with AC Milan? Who knows? Yeah. What are your take on these candidates?
Yeah, Caballero. There's the funny factor of him being brought in mid-season because Southampton had no one left, and Southampton famous for their carousel of goalkeepers. So that was funny. Aaron Lennon, he was like unironically good for Burnley at times, and it was kind of concerning. And also
that game against Brighton, he was
tore
fantastic.
It out. He looked like he was in his prime. Danny Rose. The man's been a meme since the Tottenham documentary, and he will forever be cemented in that.
Sunderland legend, though, right? Am I right?
Yes. But I got to say, John Ruddy, for me, it is the biggest You're Still Here, but not in like a bad way.
Yeah.
But in a way that, like, man, that hits my nostalgia because I remember watching him when I first started watching Premier League for Norwich, and I'm like... I forgot all about this dude, and I remember watching him back in 2013, 10 years ago.
The winner of the You're Still Here Hanky Award goes to Willy Caballero. It had to be. Where the hell did that guy come from? He came out of left field.
Yeah, he's been waiting.
He came out of nowhere. John Ruddy was in second. Danny Rose was like too funny to me to where he could actually win. Aaron Lennon, I was surprised that he's still hanging around Burnley. Is he good? Are we sure he's good award? This is pretty much guys who've shown us flashes in the past, and I don't know what to think of them given this past year that we had to watch. I have to reevaluate over the summer what I thought about them, whether it's just a down year and they'll bounce back, or if maybe they're just heading down. The nominees are Mikel Antonio. Flaming hot start to the year.
Mm-hmm.
Always been kind of a streaky guy, but not this streaky.
It all went wrong when he scored and swung around his own cardboard cutout.
I think he had 14 straight games, which for him are starts, without a goal.
Yeah.
That is brutal. Tyrone Mings. Villa's defense this year looking a little shaky. He's shown flashes for England. Mm-hmm. This is why he has to be in here. I think he's a solid guy, but I just don't know. You know, after this year, I need some stability out of Villa, and all I get for the stability is John McGinn.
Mm-hmm.
No one else I'm not 100% sure on. Mr. Yuri Tielemans. I don't know if it's just he wanted out of Leicester and he didn't care, or if it's just he's not that great of a player.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it. And last but not least, this might be the ultimate spicy hot take for a young guy to be in this list, but I don't know. Are we sure he's good? Christian Pulisic. What do you think of the candidates?
Pulisic, I think he was kind of the victim of the American hype. He's a good player in his own right, but he was never Chelsea starter quality.
Yes.
Caliber type player.
Well, I mean, he's being rumored to Liverpool now.
Yeah, and
might even be a step up.
That doesn't make any sense. But some guys like Daniel Farke fall upwards.
What do we think about the other candidates?
Yeah,
is there someone you'd include in this list that I didn't?
I think Pulisic could be on a mid-table club and have decent success. There probably is. If I took some time to think about it and maybe like Højbjerg or something.
Okay. I think that's harder because he finished the year so strong. If it would have just been that first half of the year, I would have been all in. Because before the year, I would have been like, I think he would have been on it last year, and then coming in this year with the down year, I'd have been like, oh man, he's not good.
See, that's the thing is though, you have guys who struggled when their team struggled, whereas Højbjerg was like a beneficiary of a good team in the second half of the season.
Okay, that's fair.
So it's kind of like the other side of the coin, where maybe he's only good because his team was
This
good.
is true.
Tielemans, yeah, that's a good point you make. Did he just want out of Leicester, or is he like does not have that much?
Yeah, was it kind of like a 1 year?
It's like a Pogba Jr. in terms of effort. Tyrone Mings, I think Mings is really good. I think some of his center back partners were kind of trash.
Yeah, but I don't know because Chambers was playing fine at the end of the year, but Villa's defense was still kind of out of sorts.
Small sample size. Antonio, I think he was the victim of West Ham having like no one else to play, and there were times where he should have been benched.
Yeah,
because he was in very poor form, but there was no one else to play. So I think my award would go to Tielemans.
He's back on the board. Yuri Tielemans. It is. You win the hanky. I just don't know. I don't know what to make of him.
I don't know.
The last couple years he's been good, and then this last year it felt like he like wanted to move in the summer or something.
Yeah.
And what's most concerning is like James Maddison was playing really well. Where are you? Why aren't you playing well?
Yeah, especially for a guy that Leicester paid £40 million for. Like, you think you want some more effort level out of that, some more commitment.
Yeah.
And I am concerned. He's been heavily linked to Arsenal.
Yeah.
People are saying, like, it's possibly dependent on Xhaka leaving. I would rather have Xhaka, personally, because I know Xhaka, at times...
We're not going to have to play him as much.
At times, Xhaka makes some really stupid mistakes, but at least he cares. You can't fault him for that. He cares.
There's a hole in an Arsenal squad, and I don't think it's Yuri Tielemans shaped.
Yeah, I agree. Next category.
Moving on. 2 left. Only the beginning. The emerging star Hanky.
Mm-hmm.
The nominees are Mr. Jared Bowen, arguably team of the year quality player. Amazing goal contribution this year. Fantastic. Carried West Ham's attack for the most part. Second, Mr. Romero of Tottenham Hotspur. Just kind of the one guy in defense where you don't have to really just protect, because a lot of Tottenham's defense has to be protected. Not Romero. He's out there running around, making all sorts of tackles.
Yep.
Able to play passes. Able to yell at Slabby. Bruno Guimaraes was fantastic. Scored a lot more goals than I thought he would for Newcastle. I thought he's more just defensive minded. He's very much balanced in a good way.
going off that last category, you're talking about Arsenal has a hole, and what shape is that hole? It's not Tielemans shaped.
It might be Bruno G.
I think it was Bruno G shaped.
And then last but not least, Mr. Diaz off Liverpool showed a lot of flashes in attack. Look like if Salah doesn't have it, he's able to kind of carry the attack for the most part. And honestly, a nice refresh. They're going to be selling Mane to Bayern Munich, and Diaz might slot in well as a Mane replacement. What are your takes on these four candidates?
Yeah, I think Bowen, obviously fantastic.
Fantastic.
Great player.
Great player.
He's been great to watch and enjoy him emerge this season. Romero, he's very good, but also can borderline go a little too aggressive.
He may just be the new Rudiger.
Yeah, maybe. But that seems to have worked out so far. Bruno G was superb in his debut for Newcastle. First half season. He hit the ground running. It didn't take him really any time. They took a little while to integrate him into the team, but once he was in the team, there was no taking him out. And then Luis Diaz, he's another guy that just slotted into the Liverpool side without really any hesitation. So for me, I would give this award to probably Bruno G, but I feel like Diaz is right up there.
Yeah, I would agree. And you know what? I agree so much that it is Bruno Guimaraes. It was close between Bowen, Bruno G, and Diaz. Diaz in second. It's just, we'll have to see. I think that there is that star potential, Diaz replacing Mane.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. Bruno G, that's just my kind of style, though. A guy who's really good at everything, which Bruno G is, means so much to that team.
And I really like Jared Bowen. I'm just a little hesitant that maybe it was a flash in the pan and not a consistent thing. But I really hope it's a consistent thing.
I think next year he might have the slightest of step downs, but not
it's going to be
water,
hard to match
repeat.
the numbers that he did.
All right. We have the Nice Knowing You Award. Guys who are in the Premier League that we're saying goodbye to. We call this the Willian Jose Johan Bosch / Higuain Award. We couldn't decide which award to call it. I was leaning towards Willian Jose Award.
I like Willian Jose because it's just so
that guy was
random.
In the league. Where is he? Okay.
And it wasn't a fault of his own. It was just he was brought in and really shouldn't have been.
Yeah. Are we ready for the candidates?
Yeah.
Saul of Chelsea. From Atletico, supposed to be really good, was not very good, had to play wing back, out of position, got better as the year went along. That's not saying much because of how bad he was. Let's just say that did not work out. Cenk Tosun officially gone off Everton. He had to be mentioned in here. Just a terrible signing. I don't even know what that was. How is he still at Everton? He was on their bench at one of the last games.
Mm-hmm.
I think they subbed Rondon on and he got a red card. They should have brought in Cenk Tosun.
They should have.
Martial / Pogba. A little high profile for this, but it is what it is. We're saying goodbye to those guys. They were good memes and bad memes all at one time. And then, last but not least, the candidate that Sam loves. Anyone who Norwich bought this past summer. I don't care if it's Lees Malou. Mr. Norman, it doesn't matter if you're good or bad. I'm going to...
Solis? Yeah.
Yeah.
Solis, whatever, however you pronounce that guy's name.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the candidates?
I feel like, given the history of this award, there's one person who stands out to me, and it's a guy who I did at some point in the season said, this guy is still on this team. And it's Cenk Tosun. and like you said, the fact that they believe so little in him, they brought in Solomon Rondon from freaking China to come play and get red cards before Cenk Tosun could get into the side. I feel like maybe this award should be named the The Cenk Tosin Award.
The winner is Cenk Tosin. Let it be known. No, I think it should just be a long list. Just a long list of guys is the award. And they get added each year. It's William Jose, Johan Bosch, Higuain, and Cenk Tosin Award.
Yeah.
Oh, my
It just
gosh.
keeps getting longer.
Yeah.
Their name gets etched into the very tall hanky. That you like add a little part of a base, and it just like.
And they don't even get to keep. Yeah, it's just like a big totem pole. It's the biggest hanky that there is.
Yeah. Massive. And it's growing every year.
Oh, my gosh. That was hilarious. All right. What was the best award for you?
I mean, that last one kind of was fantastic. Let's see. I liked... I was really surprised you didn't go with Lukaku as the most disappointing.
I couldn't, only because there were points in the year where you could at least look at his success. Mm-hmm. I can't point out something with Sancho. I can give you a vague, he was fine for this part. I can't. Lukaku at least scored 3 in his first few games, and then he closed out hot. And at one point, what does it matter? 90 mil, 80 mil between Sancho
Spoken
and
like a true
Lukaku.
Chelsea fan.
What does it matter? What's a few 10 million pounds amongst friends?
Amongst Russian oligarchs.
Yes. No, either way, I mean, it's really toss up, but I went Sancho. I think mainly because he was just more of a failure.
Another category I really enjoyed was the overrated player / overrated manager.
Yeah.
Because this is where we really would probably ruffle some feathers amongst the popular opinions.
Yeah, we zag about as hard as people can zag when it comes to soccer. We zag.
Yeah.
Everyone's zigging. We're zagging, baby.
We're seeing the truth. We're seeing that James Ward-Prowse is very overrated.
Oh, my gosh.
And Raheem Sterling, despite the fact that no one cares about Man City, is also
extremely overrated.
Yeah.
Ay. Well, the first annual Hankies are in the books.
It's been a booming success.
Yes.
I look forward to the second one.
Yes. Next year, same time, folks. Next week, podcast, we're going to get into somewhat semi-preview, I guess. It's more going to be kind of just breaking down tiers of teams in the components of the field of play. We're going to start off with attack. So we're going to be doing tiers, all 20 teams, where they fit in the attack. Then we'll probably follow it up with midfield, and then after that, defense / goalies. And before you know it, we're going to be damn near at the start of the year.
Yeah, August.
So.
Yeah, we got about a month and a half.
Get ready for it, folks. You're going to blink, and we're going to be doing our 2-parter preview.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. You've seen your favorite YouTubers making tier list videos on their favorite snack foods. Well,
yeah, guess what? We're doing components of the Premier League soccer teams, baby.
That's right. Buckle in, because we're not going anywhere. This has been the first annual Hanky Award Show.
Hankies.
These are the Hankies.